Commissioners will now come to order. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Bobby, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Joe LaRue.
Here.
Chair Butch Schleier.
Here.
Commissioner Neil Younger.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, and there's no changes to the order of business and no executive sessions. Prior minutes, Commissioners, did you get a chance to review the prior minutes? Okay, minutes stand as submitted. Consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, items A through G.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Issues from persons not on the order of business. Okay, everyone's quiet out there. Monthly financial report. Commissioners, you get a chance to review the report?
Yes.
Okay. The Heartland Community Foundation update. Sarah?
Hello, good morning. I'm Sarah Meitner. I'm the director at the Heartland Community Foundation, and thank you for welcoming us here today. I have some visitors with me that I'd like to introduce. These are members of the Youth Action Council, which was a student leadership and engagement group that we started this year at the Heartland Community Foundation. These are all students from Ellis County. So we have on the left Henry Fitzum, he's a junior at Hayes High. Jake Brady is a sophomore at TMP. Anna Stark is a senior at TMP, and Ben Domi is a sophomore at Victoria High School. So they were excited to come and watch today as well. We do have 2 representatives from Ellis High School who are on that committee as well, plus a couple more students from Hayes High and another student from TMP, so it's a nice group. What I wanted to tell you about, though, today was just as we conclude 2022, I wanted to share our grant totals, just so that you guys have that information and can help spread the word as people kind of wonder what we're up to these days. So for fiscal year 2022, we granted $429,772 to 67 organizations for 129 projects, which is in our 15th year. This is our 15th year celebration for the Heartland Community Foundation, the most that we've ever granted in one year. So it's very exciting, the amount of dollars that we're able to grant out and support in the community. That is the 3 counties combined. So when I look at Ellis County, we're looking at about $166,899 last year in 2022. Since 2007, we passed the 3 million mark, which is pretty exciting as well. So in 15 years, we've granted $3,205,263. I don't think anybody thought that was possible 15 years ago. I just had a visit with one of our first board members, and he was talking about the kinds of dollars that they had to grant out in those early years, and it was in the hundreds and then the low thousands. And when I told him what that number was, he was staggered. I mean, it's just the power of endowed gifts and truly the investment of the Hansen Foundation in our communities. We just concluded our fall cycle just last week, and members of the Youth Action Council actually read 10 of those grant applications and made recommendations to the committee about those granting dollars. We granted $39,614 in Ellis County to organizations that included NCK Tech, USD 489, which was Hayes High School and Wilson Elementary, Ellis High School, Hayes Med, Bethesda Place, the Historical Society, First Call for Help, among others. We fully funded 16 projects and partially funded 10 additional projects. So lots of good projects happening. I love hearing about them. The only downside is that for all of the yeses, there are some nos, and I don't like those no's. I want to fund all of those projects. So the more that we continue to grow our Ellis County Legacy Fund, the more we'll be able to grant out. And in February, when we are out fundraising for Match Month, that's when the Hansen Foundation puts money in that then they are matching dollars that we raise we'll just keep chipping away at that and raising even more. So I thank you in advance for the $5,000 contribution from the county. Other highlights from this year, we created the disaster relief funds just about a year ago at this time in response to the windstorm and wildfires that came through. We raised over $200,000 in those funds and granted out just over 60,000 in Ellis County. So we have a nice pot to get started for, in the event of future disasters. As I said, we started the Youth Action Council. These kids, we have 22 members total on the council, including the 9 from Ellis County. They've also already been given seed money from the Hanson Foundation to do a project in their communities. So they're hard at work trying to come up with ideas, and truly, it's just kind of maybe bringing them down, because they really have the sky's the limit as far as ideas go. We've also been working in the community and in all 3 of our communities, Victoria, Ellis, and Hayes, for childcare projects, housing project, and just quality of life projects, so that we can support them if they are applying for Hanson dollars or for Heartland dollars. Looking ahead, again, we have Match Month that will be starting in February. You'll start to hear more about that in the coming weeks. The Youth Action Council, will be hearing more from them. And then we will be hosting in Hayes the Kansas Association of Community Foundations, the regional meeting here in Hayes in April, which is kind of exciting. We've never had it here, so it'll be nice to welcome community foundations from Western Kansas. And also we will be debuting a new logo, and some new rebranded materials. So you have that to look forward to as well. Do you have any questions for me at this time?
I have no questions, Sarah.
No.
I just do want to thank you for the work you're doing in Ellis County. I know it benefits our community greatly.
I love it. I love seeing
How
the
they
fruits of
contribute.
the fruits of everybody's work, and then hearing about it, and maybe connecting donors to projects that need funded. That happens on occasion too, which is always really exciting.
Commissioner Neal, concerns?
I would also like to thank you, and then also for bringing
Our
the
visitors.
students out of their day and
Yeah.
getting them involved, which is nice.
I know
Thank you.
I'm biased, but the 9 individuals that we have from Ellis County on our Youth Action Council are the top. They are the 9 best in the county. They are so wonderful, and they truly bring me a lot of joy just having the chance to get
That
to know
makes
them.
your
So-
day go a little easier, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it does.
Thank you.
Commissioner Joe?
Well, they stole all my lines. But thanks for bringing the students. You can tell by their unbridled enthusiasm.
I know,
They're
right?
excited to be here.
They're smiling.
And just to echo what both Neil and Butch said, the Heartland Community Foundation does so much good, not just for Ellis County, but the surrounding communities. And with you guys being that tip of the spear for community donations and dissemination of funds, it's immeasurable, the ripple effect you guys have on the community. So
Well,
thank
I
you.
just can't help but think of what's to come, because the Hanson Foundation is really trying to invest in the community foundation so that we can each be our own mini Hanson Foundation. And if you think of that as what we might look like in 15, 20, 50 years, would be just an amazing boost to community projects and
Just like the board
meeting
member
needs.
you mentioned who was staggered by the amounts
Yeah.
you're dealing with nowadays, imagine how staggered you'll be in 15 years.
Exactly. So tell all your friends to support the Heartland Community Foundation, especially in February. This year, the Hanson Foundation is matching each donation at 200%. So for the first time, it'll be $2 for every dollar donated.
Nice.
So your $5,000 contribution becomes $15,000. So that's pretty incredible. So, and please pass along the good news to the incoming commissioners as well.
Well, I believe they're in the audience.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, take care now.
Thank you.
Okay, the Ellis County Historical Society update. Brad?
Good morning, Commissioners. Brad Rickey, Detective with the Ellis County Sheriff's Office, also the Ellis County Liaison to the Historical Society. Our last progress report was on Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. As you can see, my partner in crime, Amanda Rupp, our executive director, was unable to make it today, or at least she didn't walk up here with me. She had a family matter, but she wanted me to convey that she really wanted to be here, but family comes first, especially in this season. She had a Christmas party she had to attend. She didn't want to offend Santa, so. Our last progress report was October 11th. Since that time, curator Adam Conkey recently changed the exhibit upstairs in the Ellis County Administrative Building to historical toys and also Christmas. So if you get a chance, definitely check that out. The Ellis County satellite display at the mall has now been removed. The mall was gracious enough to allow us access to their space, their storefront space, for over a year. Fortunately for them, literally all their stores have now been accounted for, so since we weren't paying rent, we got the boot, which means the exhibit, what did we move? The Hayes City Meat Wagon, as well as some of the replica buildings of Catherine, were moved back to the Ellis County Historical Society. So November 7th through the 9th, Amanda Rupp, our director, as well as Adam Conkey, attended the 2022 Kansas Museums Association Conference in Topeka, Kansas. They brought back a whole bunch of good ideas and good information. We're really proud of Amanda. She actually applied for and was granted a scholarship to take that trip over to Topeka. She also received a $500 grant from the KMA to purchase a scanner, a negative scanner. So what that will do is all the negatives that we acquired from the Hayes Daily News, I don't know if you guys remember, but we had a whole bunch of stuff in storage over there. When we were taking all that stuff out, Hayes Daily was like, hey, do you want this? And absolutely, we are not going to turn down any type of history. The problem is we have thousands and thousands of negatives that we need to process, which now we've got a scanner to do it. We just need the manpower or woman power to do that. So, you know, if anybody is interested, in February of this next year, once we get through the holidays, we'll be looking for volunteers to come down to our newly renovated basement to do some scanning for us. So we were really happy that she did that. She also won, or was recognized, an award for graphic design for a project under $10,000. I think it actually came in right at $800, which depicted the movement, migration of the Volga German folks that came to Ellis County. And I believe that display travels now. So on December 9th, just a few days ago, we had our ribbon cutting / chamber chat down in the basement of the red brick building. We were really pleased. We had about 70 people turn out, which we really appreciated. This completes our phase 1 of our project for the brick building, and that's renovating the basement to allow us to have an ideal spot and a safe spot for all of our archives and for the public to come down and do their own research, or a good space for our employees to be able to do research and preserve those archives in a way that is safe. We're now opening up phase 2, which really deals more with the structure of the buildings. We've got a lot of limestone repair that we've got to take care of, as well as the HVAC system that we need to take care of. So we've already had a couple very gracious grants within this last month. So we look forward to working on those projects. Let me see. Monday, January 30th will be our annual meeting of the members. The general public is definitely encouraged to attend. At that meeting, we will be voting on new board members, 3 new positions, as well as we may have other items on the agenda that we need to pass. February 18th, we will have a volunteer appreciation banquet at the Ellis County Historical Society. And then finally, on March 4th of 2023, we've got, got a new date for the first annual trivia night, which will be held at the community center. So I think I've talked about that a couple times. So we'll have more information in the future. So that concludes what I have for today, unless the commissioners have any other questions for me.
Well, Brad, you guys been busy.
We have.
And, you know, it's amazing, in the 4 years I've been sitting on this board, how you have turned that organization completely around. And you're to be thanked for that. It's been a lot of hard work, and I'm sure it has been a lot of hard work. And the efforts you and your other volunteers and board members have put into this, just amazing. And I want to thank you for that.
Absolutely. Well, I will convey that thanks to the board members and our employees. They absolutely, you're correct. They do a wonderful job.
I know the first time we met, I was kind of harsh on you guys as we looked at funding, but
Well, Butch, maybe that's what it took.
Well.
You know, is somebody say, look, you know, if there's no proof, then you know, there's no way we can support you. And we took that to heart, and that's what motivated us. So
it's just amazing. So, Commissioner Joe?
Again, you know, as we've said, every time you guys have come to give us a report, we're very impressed with the progress made, especially in the last, say, 18 months. The only, I'm just curious, is there any update on the last time you guys came and gave a report? You had spoken to us a little bit about the possibility of the Victoria satellite location.
Yeah.
Is there any new news on that, or?
the only news is that we're still waiting for the contractual agreement to take place. I think we may be waiting on the Victoria Rest Home Project. I'm not quite sure what it's called, to get their nonprofit. But regardless, we still look forward to making that happen. It's just we're kind of within the red tape right now of making that happen. So
Just curious.
yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely. And if Amanda were here, she would jump on this. Victoria would just be a satellite. We would still have the Ellis County Historical Society here in Hayes. So
Oh, sure, yeah, understood.
Commissioner Neal?
I too have to echo Butch. 4 years, well, the 2 years I've been sitting on here, that thing was a train wreck, and you guys got the train back on the track, and you guys are in the right direction. Another question, how many more employees or volunteers besides the directors and that are involved?
You know, we've got 2 interns. We have interns on and off. We had 3 employees, 3 part-time employees at one point. One of our employees just wasn't able to continue because it just wasn't, enough money and enough hours. So we're working off of just our director and our curator. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot about Betty. We've also got an archivist as well. So we do have 3 employees right now. And then, of course, we've got, I believe it's 12 board members and myself. So, yeah, that's what we've got. And we'd take any volunteers that would like to come down and help us.
You're doing a tremendous job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It wouldn't be without your guys' support, so we appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you, Brad.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item is the Kansas Board of Emergency Medical Services Revolving Assistant Grant Fund. Danita?
Good morning. Danita Schrader, Director, Ellis County EMS. What I have before you today is just an affirmation and agreement of service forms. I'm applying for the CRAFT grant, which is the Kansas Revolving and Assistance Fund. They help through the state of Kansas. The Board of EMS puts this out, and they provide money, not quite matching funds, but up to a percentage for buying equipment or training equipment, medical equipment, whatnot. So I'm applying for that for this. It'll be, if awarded, it will be next year. I do have a plan to help replace our EKG monitors. They're nearing the end of their serviceable life, and I would like to start replacing those. So next year is when I'm going to start working on that, and this would come in handy if we were awarded that. I believe Ellis County EMS, I think we've received it that I know of at least 5 times through the last 10 years, I believe, is what we've been awarded this. So I basically just have the forms that need signed, and then I'll put it in for the rest of the application.
Okay, question for you here. How much is that grant for?
So for the EKG monitors, they asked for a 25% match from the county, and I believe, I'm not certain, but I believe the cap on it is $20,000 this year. So I think that's what they're going to provide. It's not real clear in reading through it, and I believe things have changed, and there's been discussion back and forth, but that's what I know right now.
And you want to replace the cardiac monitors with that?
Yes.
And how many cardiac monitors do we have?
Currently, we have 9. I would like to, I believe they were all purchased at one time in the past, and I would like to start just rotating 2 to 4, however many, whatever we get approved for, if we do, just because having all those come due at the same time is a really big chunk of money. And we have some that sit, in the trucks that we use on transfers and stuff, and they're still in pretty good shape, but the ones that we use in our first out trucks get used quite a bit. So I would like to just rotate.
What does a cardiac monitor cost?
Currently, they're about $35,000 each.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as you would take a cardiac monitor out of service, what happens to it then?
You mean if it's broken, or if we
Yeah, if
take it
we
all the way?
replace one, what do we do with the old one?
Zoll is the cardiac monitor that we use, and they will provide us the fee. They'll give us money back for it, I
Okay,
guess.
do they
lost
rebuild
the
them
wording.
and that sort of thing?
What's that?
Zoll rebuild the monitor?
They can rebuild them, and I guess I honestly haven't checked on the price of refurbishing them.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I can if you want me to.
Well, no, that's fine, that's fine. I think, it's very worthwhile to apply for this grant, so I have no problem at all signing for this grant.
Okay.
Anytime we can get help with a necessary purchase.
Sure.
And this does include, public safety issues, so.
Right.
It's worthwhile. Commissioner Neal?
I was just going to say that without the tools, you can't do it, and I will echo that on the refurbishing. That would be nice if we would have a couple that we could do, just
Okay.
in case of a breakdown or 2, that way you have something to fall back onto.
Sure. And
check
the
into that.
9, we have the 7 ambulances, and we carry one on our supervisor unit, and we use one for training as well. And sometimes we do put those others into service if one breaks down.
That would be nice to have.
But I will check on the
Okay.
refurbished
Thank
prices
you.
for you.
Commissioner Joe?
Look, I don't know if you've ever seen me try to do cardio, but I'm a huge fan of having all the cardiac monitors and defibrillators that we can have in the county ready to go. So I'm glad you're applying for the grant, and I hope that it gets us the machines we need to take care of our county.
I hope so.
Okay, so we'll sign the application. That's not going to be an issue at all, and we'll make sure we get that to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Danita. Okay, the North Tower upgrade. Darren?
This one, Commissioners, I will excuse myself on this, okay?
Oh, okay.
All right, but we're keeping the cookies.
Thanks, Commissioners. I'm going to defer some comments and information to the sheriff. He's been working on this project with me for the majority of this year, really, and had several meetings, and Tim Flax with Midwest Energy. I know I put a lot in the agenda item, and there's a lot of pieces to this. There's a lot of contractors. It's a big ticket item, but the sheriff and his office, some of his staff has been doing a lot of work. We've been working with Aaron Corcoran. He's the regional manager for Motorola. He's been working with us. He's came out several lunch meetings. We went out driving hours up north in the county to get heat maps for how the radio tower should be placed, where it couldn't be placed, and started eliminating towers up to the last couple weeks. So this has been an issue in Ellis County for several, or essentially forever, since the state radio system got put into place. As the commission may not be aware, and it's not in here, I'll try to recap everything quicker. The state has a radio system that has a series of towers located throughout the states that are all linked together, fiber and microwave connections essentially, and they all talk together. So if I'm in Kansas City and I need to talk to the sheriff on the radio here in Hayes or pretty much anywhere except for that area in the county, we can talk to each other. If sheriff takes prisoners out of county, he has constant communications. It's a big public safety asset that we have. For that, we have 2 towers in Ellis County. One, the Ellis County Commission approved back, about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, right at 55th and Vine. The county spent between $500 to $1 million in upgrading that site and then turning it over to KDOT. We have a separate tower just to the south of Ellis that's KDOT owned and managed. And then we have a third tower that is just to the southwest of Hayes out on Spring Hill Road, that if all else fails, a layer of redundancy is built that we have a tower that's a standalone tower not connected to the state that gives us a backup redundancy in communications. However, those radio towers, just like your cell phone signal, your cell phone loses signal when you get into certain places, and the good areas in the Saline River Valley in the northeast part of the county. And we have a tower that's up there, which we've always referred to as the North Tower. It's a conventional radio system that's outdated, loses power constantly, no backup generator, no heat source to keep the equipment tempered throughout the summer or the winter. And it's just in a bad location that it even takes a certain type of propane truck to get to the top of the hill to fill up the generator, even though we found that out once we found out the generator wouldn't run anymore. So lots of problems there. Came to a solution that, well, let's try to upgrade the radio equipment at the base of the tower. Come to find out the tower is actually, I think I scared Aaron by shaking the guide wires on the tower, and the tower started shaking. But the tower wouldn't support the weight of the equipment. And then there's no fiber to it. So we started looking at other towers. Long story short, came up to Midwest Energy, and we started to have some meetings with them over the last couple months. And they have a tower about 7 miles to the north-ish, maybe.
Yeah.
Fairly new tower. And they've agreed to allow us to rent space on there, lease space, and put a new building at the base of the tower, and actually sell us one of their buildings at cost, essentially. And like I say, there's a lot to this. I don't want to bore you with all the aspects. It is a big problem. It was identified last year. It's been identified in years past as a communications. But if you're up there in that area, you don't have, just like you don't have cell phone signal, you don't have radio signal to communicate. You have to use this special tower that's up there that doesn't communicate with any of the state radio systems, so you're pretty much isolated. If you're down on the bottom, you can't talk to somebody that's essentially up on the top on a different radio system. So the solution is to put new equipment on a new tower. Aaron's worked with Motorola to get us a contract for a new equipment, 2 racks of radio equipment at this new site. And as a added perk with our new public safety system, they're going to compass a 5th dispatch position for our dispatch center, which will allow for better efficiency in paging out public safety people or responders through both our VHF paging and our 800 radio system. And that was to the tune of about $150,000, I believe, is what they're giving us that equipment for. It's kind of a fourth quarter deal here at the end of the year. So we had a lot of stuff come in at the end of the year. Like I say, Midwest Energy, I can't thank them enough. If they wouldn't allow us to be on their tower, easily another $500,000 to put a new tower, and then we have to buy land, rent land, new lease, power, fiber. to the site and everything.
A lot of added time.
In time. So big thanks to Midwest Energy. Thanks to Aaron for dealing with us, asking countless questions and giving us a good price, which is also on state contract with KDOT. So I just wanted to say thanks and thanks and thanks a lot. I probably did, but I'll turn it over to the sheriff. That way he can add anything that he may wish.
Well, having been with the county for a long time, our reception up there is almost non-existent most of the time. It's really hit and miss whether it works. So I hope the commissioners would consider this and agree to putting this in place. And as you recall, about a year ago to this date, the fires occurred and our communication was less than stellar. We overloaded the system. There was one channel. By allowing this on the state system, it would allow the sheriff's office to operate on their private channel, fire to operate on their private channel, and anyone else that comes in could utilize that. The other factor is, and you read it, it limits our operations when we work with other counties if they come into by not having it on the state system. So overall, it's definitely a win-win for the entire county, and as Butch would say, it's definitely a public safety concern for us. And so it's a lot of dollars. We put a lot of time, and I'm going to reiterate what Darren said. Midwest Energy, it was one phone call, and they said, let's meet. We can work something out, and I can't say enough. And then KDOT also, with locating the closest fiber for us and getting us that state contract to get it affordable for us so that we could move forward. For those of you who may not be aware, and I don't want to get in the weeds, although the dishes work, the fiber is a lot more secure. It's also a lot more reliable. They don't get knocked out of place. So that fiber is a huge piece that is very important for our communication piece. So that's about all I have to add. So unless Aaron has something
No,
that we
I just
missed.
appreciate y'all and looking forward to the partnership, and appreciate y'all, advancing communication in Ellis County. When Darren took me up there and drove around, I had no idea that the coverage was that bad up there, to be honest. And we drove around, and I saw how just rough the terrain is. It made sense why you guys had struggles up there in the past. So just appreciate the partnership and look forward to working with y'all.
Okay.
So as the commission can see, there's really three parts to this. One is an agreement with Motorola to purchase the radio equipment. That's the big chunk. It's about $769,000. The second piece is for Kansas Fiber Network. That's getting fiber built into the radio tower site from about 3.5, 4 miles away, we believe from Codell. And the piece to that, as I explained in the agenda item, is we could pay less up front, but then we could pay more every month forever. So we thought since we had the ARPA funds available and it wasn't any impact to the amount of ARPA funds that we have left, if we paid that $50,000 up front, then our monthly recurring charges, it would outweigh it in the future by the amount of savings per month. And then the final piece to that, the final PO, is to Midwest Energy, and that has to deal with several pieces that you saw in your agenda packet, from a building to concrete pads to propane to fence to grounding, bonding, electricity. They have about 10 different contractors that they'll work to get that all installed with out there. And that was another very good thing for Midwest Energy, is it's their site. They took on that, put out a site plan, and they're going to have everything essentially installed, ready to go for us for when the radio equipment gets here, which would be 4 or 6 months. So that's the three pieces to the project. The project, as the commission is aware, we've discussed this for over a year as part of the ARPA funds, but we haven't really started digging into it for at least about 6-8 months ago, when we started getting into the process of what it's going to take. So I guess with that, I'll stand for questions.
I know from all the time I've spent in Ellis County, working here for Ellis County, I've probably heard this issue brought up before the Board of Commissioners and Executive Committee all over the place, that the communications out in the north part, up in that area, is just terrible. And of course, probably because of the cost, the commission has never decided to do anything with it. I do believe now, since We do have the ARPA money. We got cooperation from Midwest Energy, which is helping out with this project, and that's just great when we can do that. I think it's probably time to move on this and get her done. So I'm definitely going to be in favor of this. See what Commissioner Joe has to say here.
Well, after looking through the brief 100-plus page attachment, and I swear when you guys put it in there, you know I'm going to read it. You know I'm going to, and there's got to be some perverse pleasure you take in doing that. But anyway, it's a wonderful system upgrade across the board on the communication equipment. To echo what the sheriff and Butch has said previously, definitely a public safety concern. You need good communications to serve the public, regardless of what emergency service is being tasked with that service call, and so this is definitely needed. I can't say enough good things about Midwest Energy being a good community partner with the county in this project. It's not only is it saving a tremendous amount of money for the county, making it even easier to move forward with this, but more importantly, it's saving us time. We don't have to take the time to build a new tower from the ground up and delay serving the public at better that much longer. So a huge thank you to Midwest Energy, and yeah, I'm definitely in support of this because it's just a great thing across the board. The recurring fees are not very bad compared to what they could be because of the strategic use of the ARPA funds. And using the ARPA funds now while we have access to them just it lessens that sting. So all around, I think the stars lined up just right for this to happen.
Okay, well, Commissioner, I will make a motion to approve purchase order number 7693 to Motorola for the radio equipment replacement, and purchase order 7694 to Midwest Energy for a communications building, and purchase order number 9695 to Kansas Fiber Network for the fiber build-out for the North Tower Radio project.
And I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 2-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
And I failed to mention somebody, and he has done a lot of work. Sergeant Brenning with the Sheriff's Office has been involved in this, and he has helped immensely, so I want to make sure he gets mentioned also. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
If I may, Commissioner, one thing, just as you brought up, I did have a typo in the agenda. It's PO 7695, not 9695. I apologize for that. And Bobby would ask me later about it if I didn't mention that correction. The other piece, since Commissioner Slyer brought up, is, this has been a topic of discussion for a long time. When I came to the county in 2015 and essentially was handed over the communications department, we've done a strategic plan, and many years ago, and we identified so many projects that needed to be done for enhancements to our emergency dispatch center. And this was one of the projects that was identified, but there were so many other projects that impacted a bigger, broad base of the Ellis County than just the North Tower. We put in a new radio tower up north. We put the backup radio tower to the southwest of Hayes. All the mission critical consoles, which are the dispatch consoles, they were all replaced in the dispatch center. We installed the new Kansas NG 911 system, which that took place several years ago. And just this year we went live with the new CAD and RMS system. And the county has spent millions and millions of dollars updating that equipment that's in that building down there. And so not just this project here, but there's been many other projects that have been identified. And we also replaced all of our radios. I mean, that was multi-million dollars as well, and everybody in the county is having to do that. It's just the technology in the world that we live in today. But without the commission, the current commission and the prior commissioner's support, we have had tremendous upgrades that impact so many departments in Ellis County, and this is kind of the final big piece that we have to upgrade all that equipment. So I just want to say thank you, and also express that that was discussed for many years, but there's a lot of other projects that was just ahead of it and in the queue to get done.
Okay, Darren. End of year transfers. Darren.
through my book. So each year, as the commission is aware, by budget policy, we have two different types of transfers that are made. A set of transfers, one, that are actually within the budget, within the departments, and then a set of transfers that are not figured until after the final year-end tallies are formulated when the clerk and the treasurer's office close the 2022 books, which is usually in February. As you can tell on the spreadsheet, which is page 128 of your book, there are several transfers that are to be made. Many of these are just budgeted, but there are some that I want to just speak to specifically as to how they impact our county budget, because there are some changes that have actually been made this year. As you can see, there is an $800,000 budgeted transfer. That goes from our general fund to our special highway fund. This is for Public Works to do their different projects. As we've stated several times in the years past, that even at this rate at $800,000 is still significantly underfunded for the amount of road and bridge improvements that we need to do. However, that's more than double than what it was last year. And a point to notice that the commission's intent to improve the funding to Public Works for their projects, that line item is $1.6 million next year. So we've went essentially from $300,000 2 years ago to $1.6 million next year. So the Public Works Department will start doing a lot more projects within the county, and hope the residents will start seeing those improvements soon. There's a $1.2 million transfer, and that's the last of the transfers over the last couple of years to Fund 6, which is our capital improvement plan. That $1.2 million will give us a remaining balance after, if approved and finalized, the new Public Works facility. That'll help finish funding that facility if it comes in at budget, and still leave money in reserves to continue working through different capital expenditures that the Buildings and Grounds Department has plans for into the future. There's several different sales tax transfers. As the commission is aware, the sales tax was passed in April of 2020, but those sales tax revenues, just as the state continues to see increased revenue, the city and the counties has also seen those increased revenues. So as we get more of a history throughout the years of collecting those sales tax, we'll be able to account and budget for more revenues, which would offset the local property tax. And I just printed out the form yesterday for the amount of sales tax that we have average collected, or that we've collected over the last year, would average about a 4.6 mils that we wouldn't have to levy property tax on. So that's a significant savings, that revenue that we're getting elsewhere than property taxes. And as the last three that are in here, I wanted to specifically point out, because we've made it clear with the intention from the commission to approve all ARPA expenditures. Nothing is getting spent out of that fund without the commission's approval. The last three are probably the final expenditures minus one that the commission is asked to approve this year. One is for the IT position. That was the commission approved earlier this year. I believe he started in May. And then the commission approved an administrative assistant position, which started in summertime. And then, as the commission is aware, due to COVID and different reasons, the inmate population at the Ellis County Jail has been increased. Doing some remodels and some upgrades to the camera system has caused them to have housing inmates continuously out of county. So that transfer there is to offset those additional expenses above what was budgeted for out-of-county housing of inmates. So those transfers there at the top equate to $4.2 million. That's a little bit more than what was actually spent last year. For clarity on the 15 or so line items at the bottom, those are the transfers that would be made after the close of year come February. What these are estimates of what the remaining balance is based off month end of October, and try to calculate, and working with the department heads, on how much funds that they would have left within their budget authority per their department. And then based on what that is, say for instance, the clerk's office has $100,000 left in her budget at the end of '22 when the books close. Policy states that she was able to transfer, upon commission approval, 50% of that to her capital equipment fund. So 50,000 would stay in the general fund and roll over as unencumbered cash. The other 50,000 are these numbers that you see here that would be transferred to their capital equipment fund. However, one difference that I'm asking for change and works with our public works, or our buildings and grounds director, he doesn't have a whole lot of equipment that he needs for his capital equipment fund. So instead of transferring his money to the capital equipment, he's asking that it be transferred to his the capital improvement fund, which is buildings and grounds, his department. Is where most of his expenditures come on. It's not equipment, it's investing into the buildings. So that is a change there from years past. The fire department, due to the date of the fire last year, December 15th, and all the expenditures that we've had, repairs, and then the October fire this year, we're expected to be at 100% of our budget, actually being over budget and having to go back and reduce the transfer to reserves to keep that at budget and not going over. And then solid waste, as the commission is aware, the cost of fuel has significantly driven over $100,000 in increased unexpected expenditures from having to pay the increased fuel prices from hauling waste from the landfill down to Garden City. So they're not expected to have a whole lot as they have in the years past. And that should come back to equaling out and building their balance as they are that enterprise fund with the rate increase that the commission approved earlier this year. So with that, I'll take any questions.
I have no questions. I think the transfers are definitely necessary if we want to keep ahead of the curve. If we want to get behind, we can quit making them. Commissioners done that in years past, and at some point we got into a real bad shape in Ellis County. So I'm all in favor of making the transfers as you stated here, Darren. Commissioner Neal?
I also support that, Darren. I can't brag on you enough and the employees of the county. Thanks for the job that you're doing for us in the community.
Commissioner Joe?
No questions. I'll just make the motion, and I move to authorize the county administrator to make the 2021 year-end transfers as listed on the attached spreadsheet.
Would that be 2022 year-end transfers?
It says 2021 on here.
Yeah. What is it 2022 or
I was
20?
working to our last week in time for the Christmas party that we had last weekend, I guess. So yeah, 2022 year end is correct. I apologize.
All right. Well, then it'll be, I'll amend my motion to 2022.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0. Okay, County Administrator report. Darren?
Just two quick items. Saturday evening, we had the Ellis County holiday party out at the Unrein building at the fairgrounds. I don't know what the final number was, but we had over 100 employees, their families, and kiddos there. Good food, good time. I've heard a lot of suggested improvements for things that we could add on to and make it better for next year, and Commissioner Younger is aware of that, and he'll discuss those as we get closer next year with the new commission to see what all we can do. It was a good time, and appreciate everybody coming out. I appreciate the commission's support to purchase the fried chicken and the pulled pork. And the second item that I have is just a reminder of our special commission meeting this coming Monday, the 19th at 11 a.m. over on 22nd Street at the Emergency Services Building to go over the plans and review and budget estimates for the new Public Works facility so we can continue to progress through that project. That's all I
Okay.
got.
Thank you, Darren. County Commission reports. Commissioner Joe?
I don't have one this time.
Commissioner Neal?
Yes, I did attend the Grow Haze and also went to the Shenshin City meeting last night, and then I also did attend the Christmas party, and I'm supposed to relay the messages back to my fellow commissioners that they thanked us for everything. I met a lot of new people. There was new faces that I got to visit with, and it was a good time. good talking with them, and they really did appreciate the raise and just appreciated what we've all done for them. So that's all I have.
Okay, and I have no report. There's no other business. The meeting will adjourn at 9:20.
On the road again.
You're going to Oklahoma City.
Yep, I'm gonna go straight from here to Oklahoma City. Watch my youngest enlist. Then I just gotta figure out what to do with the 19-year-old. And then my semi-retirement and,
And then
oh hell, by then I'll screw it up and go back.